you'll get Tim behind the scenes who'll be able to help. If you do want to let people know where you are and what you're drinking on the chat, be sure to select all panelists and attendees. We'd also love to hear what you think of the wines, if you have managed to buy any or all of them in today that we mentioned in the email. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Jo Locke MW, who's going to introduce the lovely ladies from Domaine de la Renaudie. Hello, Jo. Oh, sorry, I've just muted you by accident, Jo. Apologies.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on Sunday morning, Mother's Day. Most of us are unable to be with our mums, with our daughters. My daughter is not here, but she's with me in spirit. My beautiful flowers are sitting behind me. But we thought this would be a lovely way to mark Mother's Day with one of the loveliest suppliers that I work with, mother and daughter. I've known Patricia for many years now, Charlotte only for the last few years, but it's an absolute pleasure to have them with us. And they, along with Patricia's husband, Bruno, Charlotte's dad, are a fantastic team. But here we have the mother and daughter team. And it's just such a pleasure to see you. Thank you for giving up your Sunday. Although it's not Mother's Day in France. I think that's not until May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll have to have a chat again at the end of May. This day. So when I first joined the Wine Society back in 2004, we had already worked with you.
Yes.
I think I'd worked with you in a previous life, Patricia. I'm sure I knew you before I joined the Wine Society. Anyway, we restarted working with you. I visited in November 2006, and we started with the Touraine Sauvignon 2005, and then we've bought a selection of wines since then. And today we're focusing. It just happens that we have two of your reds at the moment. But I'm delighted to say I've just tasted the new vintage Touraine Sauvignon and Chenonceaux Blanc, and we are hoping to have those later in the year. So that's something that members can look forward to, and I hope you'll touch on those as well. So pleasure to see you. I'm going to let you present Domaine de la Renaudie. It may be that some people on the chat have actually visited you, because I know many members have. I often hear from members that they've been to see you. So hopefully this will remind a few people who've visited in the past. So over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you to be here with you. So the Domaine de la Renaudie is run by, it's a family estate run by 4 generations. I'm the last one, Charlotte. I did all of my study in the world wine. After that, I've been in Australia to have some experience and to improve my English. Then I wanted to go to USA. Before I went just a few days in France to see my family and my friend. During this period, my dad fell down a tank and his was very, very bad. So I stayed with my mom for the harvest, because it was in July, and the harvest was very...
A few days later.
Yeah, a few days later. So I stay here with my mom to help her, and now I'm with my parents. So Domaine de la Renaudie is 30 hectares of vines in Touraine, so in the Loire Valley, in the slope of the Cher River. Yes, in the Cher Valley, on the slope. We grow 8 grape varieties, sorry. The main grape variety is the Sauvignon. It's more than half of our production. And And then we have the chenin and the chardonnay for our white sparkling. We have pinot noir for our rosé sparkling, the Pinot Denis for our rosé wine, and in red wine we have gamay, cabernet franc, and co or Malbec. So it's several range of wine. What else?
We are in the Loire Valley.
Yes, all of our production is under Touraine and Touraine Chenonceaux appellation. We have yes, you can see the Touraine Chenonceaux appellation. It's in the middle of all of the Loire Castle, so you can see Chenonceaux, Cheverny, Chambord, Amboise, yeah, Chaumont-sur-Loire,
Valency.
Valency. It's not right on the map. Our soil are rather poor and on a siliceous clay terroir. Sustainability is very important for us. We are certified Terravitis since 15 years old now, and HVE high
Environmental level.
Thank you. High environmental value certified since now 1 year. Since I arrived in the estate, I start the green manure that you can see on the pictures. It's yes, it's between the lines of the vines. We can choose the plant that we want to add in the vineyard. So low water requirement, or how we say nitrogen supply. So it's very good for the environment and for the year and generations to come. We sell all of our production by ourselves. The most is exporting in Europe or other countries like USA and Japan, and the rest is in France. So at home, in the cellar door, or in the restaurant,
Wine shops.
wine shop, and that's it. Market.
Yes.
So you can come at home to taste our wine and to meet us. It will be a pleasure. And what else? Do you have to add something?
Since Charlotte is arrived, she has also changed several things with the vinification. We do not add any sulfur since the beginning of the fermentation to the end of the fermentation. So the wines we do since Charlotte is here are more fruity and more expressive. We have more the flavors of the grape because she has changed things. So Charlotte is very sensible to nature, to environmental value, and so she changed the things, but the wine stay the same. The quality of the wine is always very high.
Yes. So
the tasting room. Yes.
The tasting room.
Yes.
And on the picture you will see Bruno, my father. during the harvest. Yeah, here. Me in the cellar, and yeah, all of the vineyard. I don't know, Jo, if you want that we say something.
Well, I was going to say it's pretty scary seeing Bruno up a tall ladder, and you as well, because
Yeah.
your father's accident was falling from the top of the tank.
Yeah.
So he's made the most amazing recovery.
Yeah.
Thank goodness you were there to be able to come and help back in 2016. And I think you'd been helping already in 2015, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Because it was between your travels.
Yeah, I was there for mom because she was not with a good health.
Yes, I was ill.
Yeah. So yeah, now we are together, and we make a good team, I think. And in last year, in 2020, I decided to be a member of a society. So now we are associate, because before I was just employee. And the big event was last year. It was not the good year to start with the COVID, but we are together, so it's beautiful.
It is fantastic. And at least you were able to do your trip to Rutherglen, which must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how useful that was for the Loire Valley, but were you making fortified muscats?
Yeah.
No, yes, but not here.
Not here.
No.
Yeah.
In Rutherglen, yeah.
Yeah, it was 6 months, beautiful, and 45 muscat, some Pinot Grigio,
Right.
yeah, a lot of different grape varieties too, like us in France, but not the same grape variety and not the same vinification. But it was nice to learn about the sunny climate.
Yes.
Because now in France, it's not the same, but nearly with the changement. So it was nice to learn about that.
Yeah. And I know you also did a short stay in South Africa because we met up there, didn't we? But and I know you enjoyed that less well. Because that was fewer grape varieties as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was the Bordeaux blend, so it was not very useful. Useful for me. But it was very good for the delicate harvesting and the vinification. It was very precise. Very
precise.
Yeah.
Precise,
yes. Yeah. Patricia, I know you studied in Bordeaux at the beginning, didn't you? And I remember you saying to me one time that when you came back to the Loire, you were making the wines a bit like Bordeaux wines, and that wasn't right. You had to, it was almost, you had to forget what you learned in Bordeaux and do something different in the Loire.
Yes,
I suppose all of these experience where you're experiencing elsewhere, there are things that are positive things you can bring back, and then there are also things that you think, well, no, that won't work, and this shows me why it won't work. So I think that experience elsewhere is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Charlotte, did you always know that you wanted to come and work at the family domain? When did you start to think about that?
Early, but I wanted to come back, but not in 2016. I wanted to travel and make a lot of vinification in different countries. My objective,
objective, your aim.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, was to do free 6 vinification in 3 years. So one in North Hemisphere and one in South Hemisphere by year. But yeah, since my I think I start to learn wine and vine in 2013.
2013.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was early. It was early, and I like the vineyards. I like taste the wine. So yeah, I know that it was my
Objective, yes.
my objective.
We have 3 children, and Charlotte is the only one who has always liked to try the wines. And she is the youngest one.
Yeah, so they made you wait.
Yes.
Last one.
Yeah.
So shall we taste some wine?
Yeah.
What would you like us to taste first?
First of the Sauvignon.
Perhaps the Sauvignon first, or
Okay.
it will be easier to try first the Sauvignon and after the 2 reds. Yeah.
Obviously, apologies to all of you listening that unless you have a previous vintage, you won't be able to taste this with us. But I kept a little back from tasting the wine last week, so I'm hoping under the vacuvin that it will have survived. But it was very interesting, actually. I mentioned to you that I tasted it. It was the beginning of last week, and actually it opened up over a few days. So I wonder was this wine bottled a bit later than usual?
No.
Often you bottle your wine in January. I think some years it was even as early as December, the first bottling. But
the first bottling was also in January.
Okay, so
it's the wine you have received. So yeah.
Okay.
So
I certainly found as a young wine.
Yes,
it was good to. It was good several years later. So tell us about the Sauvignon.
The Sauvignon, so it's 100% Sauvignon. It's a wine from 2020, so it's a year which have been a little bit special because we had it's a very dry year with a very, very small quantity because of dryness. So this wine is very expressive on the nose, and you have a lot of white ripe fruit flavors. It has the flavors of the grape when you eat the grapes in the vines. So it's very typical from the Sauvignon from the Loire Valley. It is our bestseller. We export a lot because of this wine, and we have met the Wine Society with this wine, but many years ago. It's a wine which increase the iodine flavors of the food. So it's very good with the shellfish, with the fish cooked in boiled water or steam. And it's also good with some cheese like ghost cheese, and also the cheese with like Comté or some cheese like that. This wine represents the half of the production. And we export the 2/3 of the quantity.
Okay.
That means that we export more than we sell in France.
And I know normally you have a very big market in Northern Europe, don't you? Germany has always been very important to you, and
Netherlands also. We also sell a lot in Netherlands, also a little bit in
Belgium.
In Belgium, in Denmark, and this year we have begun in Lithuania. And so we sell a little bit in Canada and a little bit in United States, in California and New York. And we have sold a lot in Japan, but now it's a smaller quantity since the tsunami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So many disasters around the world.
Yes.
I have to
this
say
year this wine is more complex than the Touraine Sauvignon we normally do, because the quantity of alcohol is higher than the normal year. It's around 14% alcohol, and normally we are around 12.5 to 13%, so it's richer. And as it contains more alcohol, it's more expressive on the nose, because alcohol brings the flavors to the nose. Yes.
How do you keep, and especially in a year like 2020, how did you keep the freshness in the wine? I have to say, this is, even if it's been open for a week, it's still lovely and fresh. And there's nothing heavy about the wine. Sometimes I think we're afraid of the alcohols getting over 13 and a half even, partly because we're not used to it. But I think gradually we're having to become more used to it. And you have a good balance in this wine. There's, as I say, there's nothing heavy there.
Yes, so we try to keep out to keep no oxygen.
Yes. We try to ferment without any oxygen, less oxygen we make, and also we try to keep acidity. We decide of the decision of the day of the picking is very important. And this year it has been a little bit difficult because the vines were very dry, so no more water comes from the roots to the grape, and we had for 2.5 months after we had a small rain at the end of August, and the rain that we had at the end of August began to arrive in the grapes 10 days later. So before the 10 days, the flavors of the grape were green.
Yeah.
So we wait, because even if quantity of sugar was high, the flavors was not the flavors we wanted to have. And we have wait 3 days, and after the 3 days, the quantity of sugar give us 2.5% alcohol over, but the flavors were what we wanted to have. So this year it has been a little bit difficult, and also we always analyze the grapes before the picking, and we decide of the day of the picking with the quantity of acidity we have in the grapes. That's why there are several maturities in the grape. So you have the flavors, you have the quantity of alcohol, you have the quantity of acidity, and we try to have a correct balance, to have a wine which is fresh.
And
I suppose if you have different slopes with slightly different aspect, that helps you to pick, one day or another.
Yeah.
It's a big advantage that you have in a family domain. Not like the big producers who have so many grapes to pick. They have to pick some too soon and some too late.
Yeah.
Because they can't handle them all in the cellar. But you've been able to get a good.
And this year the harvest was very short and intense, because it was now and not after. So we harvest during the night to have a fresh berries, because during the day the temperature was very high, like 35, 36 degrees. So it's not normal for us in the Loire Valley, and it was confusing, and it's hard to know when we have to pick, because it's not the normal situation. but we are pretty happy about the product, the final product. So we have to stay very
attention, careful.
Yes, careful.
Yeah. And does the experience that you've had in those hotter climates, does that give you a bit more confidence to say, no, we should wait, we can wait longer?
Yeah, and it was not usual to harvest during the night here. And in Australia, it's always during the night, or is often during the night. So we do like them now, and it's better. It's better for the fermentation.
Yes.
Because the temperatures of the wine is perfect, and there are no oxidation, and yeah,
it's better.
It's better.
So I
Can we move on to the red?
Yeah.
Which one?
The first is Cher. It's a red wine, 100% gamay. It's from 2019. So the 2019 was the first year with very, very hot temperatures during the harvest. So we have some gamay grape which are very ripe. And it's a wine which is complex and rather full-bodied for gamay. And if you see the color, it's a little bit dark. It has strawberry flavors. It's a wine you may drink a little bit chilled during the summer with either cold meat or chicken. And but during the rest of the year, you may drink it at room temperature with red meat and also cheese. So it's a very easy wine. There is not the acidity you may find sometimes in the light red wines. It's rather round and full-bodied for the wines from Loire compared to the other wines from Loire. Yes, what else?
Yeah, it's full-bodied gamay. It's
because we have old vines. Our gamay vines are rather old, so the average of the vines is over 40 years, I think.
Yeah.
So the vines produce a very, very small quantity. I think the harvest was around 25 hectoliters per hectare. So that means that's why the wine is so rich.
And again, I suppose this is climate change related, or maybe it's to do with the vineyards and the old vines as well. That in the last few years, the red wines in the Loire have changed a lot. Sometimes in the past, Loire gamay would be a little bit strict, a little bit
acidic.
A lot of the earthy character, which personally I've always loved. I learned to love wines in the Loire. But very different in character from the gamay wines from further south in Beaujolais. Whereas now, with these warmer vintages, you have the same juiciness and fruitiness and not that leaner character that wasn't always easy to sell in the UK. Now we find that there's much more interest in Loire wines, red wines in the UK, because they are there's a bit more fruit, they're a bit more generous.
And also we have learned to manage with the red grapes. The way we do the wines now are different than the way we did the wines. That means that we extract too much tannins because we wanted to have the color. Now we have enough color in the grapes to do not extract too much tannins. And also, since Charlotte is here, we do not use any sulfur since the beginning of the harvest to the end of the fermentation. So the wines are much more fruity because there are no sulfur.
Right.
and expressive.
And also the sulfur close the wine, especially at the springtime. The wines are a little bit reduced with flavors which are not especially nice, but now we do not have these kinds of flavors. The wines are much more expressive. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Which must make it easier for blending, I suppose. If the wines are all more expressive, your job for blending, Charlotte, must be much easier,
Yeah.
perhaps, than in the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's looking really well. Mine is, I put it in the fridge for half an hour, no more, and it's perfect. The temperature is perfect.
Yeah.
During the summer, we have to serve it chilled here in France, because when it's 35, 40 degrees outside, it's nice to have a fresh wine in the mouth. But during the winter or at this time, we do not put it in the fridge, and it's good as it normally. Yeah.
And the name Les Guinnetières, is that the name of a parcel, or does it have a meaning?
Yeah.
It's the parcel.
It is, okay.
Yeah, it's the name of the
parcel.
Yeah.
And also Guinnetière, guigne in French is a cherry, a kind of cherry. And very often you do not have cherry flavors, but strawberry flavors, so red fruit flavors, and that was one of the reasons we have chosen this name of parcel.
Yeah, okay. That's lovely. And we should say, we saw those beautiful pictures of the vineyards, but when we come and visit you at the property, we don't see the vineyards, because the vineyards are up on the slopes behind the village.
The estate is
you have to turn off the main road and drive up onto the slopes to see the vineyards.
Yeah, the estate is near the Cher's river, and the vines are on the slope, so we have to go in the vines. Yeah, to go.
The vines are the majority of the vines are on the slopes of the Cher river.
Yeah. Okay, shall we taste the Tradition?
Yes.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions about the wines, please feel free. I haven't been able to watch the chat. Please feel free if you'd like to ask questions, and then we'll try and answer those at the end.
Okay, so this wine is, we call it Tradition. So the Wine Society have both the end of our stock. It's a wine which is 50% Cabernet Franc, 50% Malbec, or Co in Touraine. It's a wine which it's from 2018, so you have both the end of the stock of 18. It has won medal in Paris, and also another one in Angers in Ligier competition. And it's so 2018 is for me the last year of normal grapes for Loire Valley. So the grapes had more freshness, more acidity, and the fruits were not so mature than the fruits we get now since 2 years. So it's really typical for Loire, but as we had a rather good maturity on our slopes, the wine had more red fruit flavors than perhaps in the Guinnetière, which has more jam flavors. A little bit. So Tradition is a wine you can drink either chilled even with fish with red meat, or at room temperature with white meat, red meat, game, cheese, with many things. So if you do not know which kind of wine to open, Tradition is good for all kind of food.
Mhm.
It's not too light, too strong.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the red wine range.
You may even drink it as an aperitif because it's light and it's easy to drink with cold meat and small things you eat with aperitif. Good. Yeah. And also with no sulfur since the picking to the end of the fermentation.
Mhm.
Yes.
Is the Malbec grape becoming more important for you? I know it's very important for Touraine Chenonceaux, but are you finding it's becoming more important for you in Touraine? Is that a grape that's benefiting from climate change, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We in Domaine de la Renaudie, we have always had the co, and we have done a special cuvée that you have already bought, cuvée Albert Denis,
Yes.
and it's 100% Malbec. And in Domaine de la Renaudie, we had always had the co, which was the favorite grape of the grandfather of my husband. And but the co benefit of the changing of the climate, yes. So it's before, when we did too much extraction, the tannins of the co were a little bit sharp. Now we get a better maturity of the tannins, so we may extract more, and we have wines which are 100% Malbec, which are rather full-bodied and round with very, very good maturity of the tannins, of the color, and of the flavors.
Mm-hmm. I know often in the past, when I would taste with you, I would taste the cuvée Albert Denis, and sometimes it needed, for the UK, or for my palate anyway, it needed a bit more time. It was good wine. Now the structure is still there, the tannins are still there, but it's a little bit rounder. It's a bit more, easier.
We have learned to deal also with the red grapes, as you say. When I come from Bordeaux, I wanted to do Bordeaux in Loire. So we extract a lot to get the wines with a lot of color, a lot of tannins. So at the beginning, we had the wines which were very fruity, but with tannins which were undrinkable. And after we had to wait 2 or 3 years, and after the 3 years, the tannins were rounder, but the flavors were out. So we have learned to deal with that, and we did wine for French taste, but not to export. And now we try to, and people have changed also. The taste of the people have changed. So we want, it's even in France, people want to drink round wine, very easy wine. Round doesn't mean that the wines are light like water, but it means that you have no more dry flavor, dry sensation in the mouth. Yes. It has to be round, and I can't explain more.
No, that's a really good explanation. And of course, yes, I remember in the past in France, wine, especially red wine, would only have been served with food. You know, for years in the UK, we've been drinking wine on its own.
Yeah.
In France, it was still very much with food. And so you needed a bit more structure. Whereas actually now that more people are drinking the wines on more everyday occasions, then, and with a whole variety of food, as you say, then you don't necessarily want that same grip, the same tannic structure.
And as the maturity of the tannin is better, and also as we have more alcohol, alcohol gives a sweet taste to the wine. Even if the red wines are dry, you have a taste which is sweeter, and that's why you can drink the wine outside of the meal. Yeah. Yes. That was not possible before with a wine at 11.5 or 12. Now with wines which are over 13 or 13.5, it's easier to drink a red wine outside of the meal.
Mm-hmm. we were talking about the Co grape, the Malbec, and of course that is very important for the Touraine Chenonceaux Appellation. Won't you tell us a bit about that? Because Patricia, I know you were heavily involved in creating the Touraine Chenonceaux Appellation and launching it with the first vintage 2011.
Yeah.
So it's celebrating 10 years this year.
Yeah. We hope we could do something to celebrate the 10 years, but it's not sure because all the events we have are in the Chenonceaux Castle, and at this time it's closed, and we don't know if it will be open during the year.
Yeah.
And so yes, we are happy to have done this appellation because if you see the Loire, I don't know, the map of the Chenonceaux. Please, can you show the map of Chenonceaux?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you see the map, the Loire, the Touraine wines may be produced in a very large part of France. But we knew, the wine growers knew that the wines which were produced around the Cher River were different than the wines which were produced west from Tours or very far north from where we are. So we wanted to prove that the wines were different. So we have worked all our life to do that, and we have been happy to be approved by the ENAO it's the state recognized the difference between the Touraine Chenonceaux wines and the Touraine wines. Touraine Chenonceaux wines are only produced with the vines which are at the top of the hill facing the Cher River. Why at the top of the hill? Because if you have a look of France, you have the Gulf Stream in the ocean, and the Gulf Stream is hot water and brings hot temperatures to the French coast that follow the Loire and after follow the Cher, which is east. Sorry. So if you do the sum of the temperature the whole year along the Cher River, the sum is higher than when you go far from the Cher River. So this sum of temperature added to the fact that at the top of the hill there is less soil. So when the vines have less soil, the vines produce less grapes. And also when it's raining, the rain falls down. So all these things added gives grapes that have a different maturity than the grapes from the Touraine area. So the wines are different. The white wines from the Touraine Chenonceaux have less the flavors of the grape of Sauvignon. They have more white red fruit flavors, citrus flavors, and also a little bit of exotic flavors like pineapple or mango. And
it's because of the climate, but also because it's aged on the lees, 6 months on lees.
Yeah, sure.
So it's more round and grape, and it's not the same flavor. The Touraine Sauvignon is more grape variety flavor, and the Touraine Chenonceaux it's more like age flavor, fermentation flavor. Yes, so it's come from the terroir, where the vines are, but also the vinification is different. Sorry.
Sure.
And that, so without oak?
Without any oak, yes.
Is oak forbidden, or is it just?
No, oak is not forbidden, but there is a special tasting which is called quality validation in Touraine Chenonceaux. That is a tasting which is done by a person by wine growers, but also professional. And even if the wine is very, very good, if the wine do not have the specification of Touraine Chenonceaux, it stays Touraine. And in Touraine Chenonceaux, we really want the flavors of rye fruit flavors, citrus flavors, exotic flavors, but we do not want the flavors which are given by oak over these kinds of flavors. So it's not forbidden. No, yes, it's English. Yep. Yes, it's not forbidden, but it's we do not want this kind of flavors to be over the flavors of the fruits.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you said, you once told me that it took 20 years to actually achieve the Appellation.
Yes.
So a huge amount of work went into that in terms of your application, I suppose. But then the INAO had to come and look at the different terroirs and decide where the Appellation would fall.
Yes.
And then I think at the beginning you said there were, so in 2011, the first vintage, there were 11 producers. And
15.
It was 15, was it? Yeah. And now there's something like 60?
Yeah, 60.
So it's been, even if people were cautious at the beginning, they have benefited from all of your hard work because now 60 people are making Touraine Chenonceaux.
Yeah. And
and
it has been a long work, but we are happy to have done this work because it's a great thing for a wine grower to see the born of a new appellation, and it's and also when you leave this kind of thing. I was 10 years younger. I had a lot of ideas and I wanted to move everything, and we are a group and we are very near the ones from the other ones, and each person, each wine grower brings something, and it's great to be in the group.
Make his contribution.
Yeah.
And I think you also said to me that one day you were hoping it might become Appellation Chenonceaux, so dropping the Touraine. Is that still an idea?
It's earlier to say, but we don't know between the Appellation Chenonceaux or un cru.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're gonna to do. It's not.
We in 10 years, INAO has decided the lands which are allowed to produce Touraine Chenonceaux or not. That is finished. This is one part of the thing. Now we have to decide the direction we will give to the appellation, and the name is one of the things we have to decide, and we can't speak too early for the other ones. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's important to have the Touraine in the name, because it's the local name. So yeah. We don't know.
We can't say.
So perhaps that will be a job for you and your daughter, Charlotte.
But Charlotte, Charlotte is already a member of the Touraine Chenonceaux. She has created a section, young wine growers, in the for the following of the old wine growers.
Perfect.
But it's a good thing, yes.
Okay, I can see Anna's rejoined us, so you must have some questions for us.
Yes, we do. We've got
for Charlotte and Patricia.
And firstly, thank you to all three of you. What a really fascinating and really pleasant way to start my Sunday afternoon, actually. Enjoying a beautiful glass of wine and having some really in-depth but interesting conversations. So thank you. We do have lots of questions. I'll start hopefully with an easy one first from Stephen. You mentioned you don't use oak in your Sauvignon Blanc. Do you use oak in any of your wines?
No.
No.
No, lovely. There we go. An easy question. I thought it might be a
We
good one.
prefer fruity wine, and it's when the customer come in Loire Valley, they don't research. Yes, they don't research oak wine. It's more fruity and easy wine, round and elegant.
Thank you very much. We have had a question from Alan, again about production. He's interested in, Charlotte, you've obviously now stopped using sulfur during the process of making your wines. Are there any disadvantages or challenges in not using sulfur?
Yeah. Est-ce que c'est un challenge? Est-ce que c'est difficile de...
Yes, it's need to be very conscientious, careful, and we have to taste the wine not every day, but nearly, because it can change very quickly. So, and for all of the movement that we do during the fermentation, we need to be careful with the oxygen to do not let the wine be oxidated. So yeah, it's not hard, but it's need very very carefully and a lot of time.
Has to be managed.
Yeah,
a lot more attention.
Yeah,
and I suppose also the quality of the fruit at the beginning also has to be good.
Yeah, sure.
If you have problems with the fruit, it's much more difficult.
Yeah, but since I arrived on the estate, I had only a dry vintage with no botrytis or strong weather. So I didn't know how. I don't know hard harvest.
Difficult harvest.
Yeah, difficult harvest.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. We have also had a question from Mary Britchford, who said she was very interested in hearing the differences in taste between the French market and export markets like the UK. Would you be able to talk a little more about that?
Yeah.
No, we do not do wines for French markets or wines for export. Now the wines have always been the same in the cellar, and but we have changed a little bit. The climate helps us to do wines which are easier to export, but we do not. We do only one kind of wine. Yeah.
And the taste of the people is different in different country. Yeah. It's hard to say they prefer which wine or which wine, but yeah, the taste of people inside one country, it's changing, and it's in all of the country and the world, all of the people are different, and yeah.
Anyway, we choose, when we export, we choose a kind of the wines, as we have a large range, we choose the wines we will send for United States or for China or for North Europe. We do not go with the totality of the range. We go with only several wines, and we know that wines are drank outside of the mill in North Europe. If you go in China, where the climate is tropical, they will like and fruity wines. If you go to Greece, you do not go with your full-bodied red wines because they produce these kinds of wine. You go with light and fruity wines. So we choose the wines, but we have only one kind of wine. When we produce a Léguinière, we have 10,000 bottles, and it is Léguinière for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, so you make the wine doesn't change, but you maybe select which which markets might prefer which styles.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire has always been historically so popular in the UK. So, Jo, I think we've been selling their Sauvignon for many a year.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And since there is the Sauvignon World Competition, we have seen that, and the wine growers have seen that the Sauvignon produced in Loire is the best of the world.
Fantastic.
Even if our customers still drink far too much New Zealand Sauvignon. Yes, they do. That's funny, actually. This weekend, I should have been in Portugal judging for the Concours Mondial du Sauvignon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Of course, they had to postpone it. It couldn't happen they hoped it would, but of course it couldn't happen. So that was going to be my first time judging for the Sauvignon. So it's a shame not to be able to be there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We had a few questions leading on from the Sauvignon, actually. In particular, you mentioned Comté was a nice pairing, but also some local cheeses. Some members have visited you and actually recommended some cheeses that you apparently tasted with them, which is fantastic. But do you have any specific cheeses from the Loire that you would recommend, not only with your Sauvignon, but also with your other wines as well?
We have Celles-sur-Cher goat cheese, and
we have many goat cheese. We have Celles-sur-Cher. Yes, we have Sainte-Maure de Touraine. We have Pouligny Saint-Pierre. We have Crottin de Chavignol. We have Valençay. They are all made with milk of goat cheese. With milk of goats. And we have only goat cheese around. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think, Alan, that will hopefully have answered your question. 5, I think, fantastic goat's cheese recommendations locally. So thank you. I'm conscious you may have answered this question, but just in case we missed it, Stephen Chapman would like to know how old your gamay vines are.
I think it's around 35 years old.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then just to end, as we're running right up to the 1 o'clock mark, and I'm conscious people are going to be, I've already been told that my fiance accidentally turned the pork off. he texted me. So
your lunch will be late.
My lunch is going to be late now. I don't mind because I've got a beautiful tradition that I can go and sit and drink in the sunshine. So it's his problem. But we have had a question from Russell Jones, who commented that Jancis Robinson has recently tasted your wines, and wondered if you could comment on that.
It's the white Touraine Chenonceaux. And if you want,
it has been tasted between the Sauvignon from Loire, table wines, Vin de Pays, Touraine Chenonceaux, Touraine Wally, Reuilly, Quincy, Menthousalon, Pouilly Fumé, Sancerre. So it was the totality of the Sauvignon. Each wine grower in Touraine was allowed to send only 1 bottle, so I have sent that one, and it had just been bottled before I sent it. So it was the Touraine Chenonceaux 2019, and this wine had the best note with Jancis Robinson. It was 17.5, and there was another 17.5, which was Sancerre wine.
Yeah. Fantastic. Congratulations.
That's a good point. We should say, Patricia, that the Chenonceaux Appellation for the white, so 2019 is your current vintage. The rules state that you can only release the wine after a certain time because it spends 6 months on the lees.
Yes.
So you release the wine, I think, in the autumn?
We all... yes, you can have this wine at the autumn. Yeah, that's what you want.
No, sorry, when are you allowed to release the vintage?
After the 1st of May.
Oh, it's May. Okay, May.
Yeah, and
Just
the
to
red wines after the 1st of September.
Okay, that I was mistaking it for the. So from May, yeah.
So as we keep the wine very long time on the yeast, we have always 1 year of difference between the Touraine and the Touraine Chenonceaux. So we are selling the Touraine 2020 and the Touraine Chenonceaux 2019. And it's for the red wines, we are selling the Touraine Chenonceaux 2018. And we will begin the 19 in a few months, and after it will be the 20.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's minimum 6 months on lease, but for us is more than 7. We
9 months.
Yeah,
Minimum.
yeah. It's
Okay.
depend of the grapes, but for us is more than 6 months.
And that supports exactly what you were saying, that the flavors in the white Chenonceaux are not about the grape, it's more about the lees aging, those different. So it's not it doesn't immediately sing Sauvignon.
Yeah.
It's more of a gastronomic.
And it doesn't have too much grape flavors. You may serve the wine with more things than when it's more specific Sauvignon flavors.
Yeah.
So it's a wine which goes with shellfish and the scallops as an aperitif.
Mm-hmm.
The fish cooked in with a cream sauce, the white meats, and also many cheese. So it's a wine you can serve for me with the same meals than a chardonnay, chablis. It doesn't have the flavors of a chablis, but anyway, it's a wine which is very complex and you can serve with many things.
Or with nothing, just drink it.
Before the first course, second course, cheese, and then afterwards.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I will just have one last question, if it's okay. We have had lots of members let us know that they have visited you before, but just to any members who haven't, when we are allowed, you do welcome guests, don't you, to the tasting room? You can have visitors.
Sure. Yeah, it's better if they call or if they send a mail to say they will, even if we are always open except on Sunday.
It's better if we are us with mom, because dad is not speaking English.
Oh, that's not true.
Yes, that's true.
That's true.
He doesn't like to speak English.
That's it.
But actually his English is very good. But yeah, I suppose we should explain that the photo that you saw, it's your home. The tasting room and the cellar is at your home. That's where you live.
Yeah.
So
here we are at
somebody
home.
there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what you see when you drive in, and you're normally met by a couple of lovely spaniels as well.
Yeah. On a accueilli par 2 écoliers.
Oui.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much for such a wonderful sort of end to the weekend, or start to Sunday afternoons for most of us. I cannot thank you enough. It's been a real pleasure to hear from you both, and a thanks to Jo as well for hosting a lovely afternoon. I'm going to go and enjoy a couple more glasses of this whilst I wait for my lunch to be finished.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, for hosting this for us, and a huge thank you as well, because I know we've delayed your lunch. So please.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Our apologies to Bruno.
It was our first experience of a live in English, so we have been happy to do that with you.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all of the organization, and thank you everybody.
And we will be happy to see you
in England,
or in France, to be together. Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing you either there or here as soon as we can.
Thank you.